Thank you, Mark. Thank you to Harry for holding our tech space and right back at you, Mark, because I'm going to share some IJS teaching today that I've been able to benefit from. I've shared with people on the sit who've been on previous sits before that I'm enrolled in Rabbi Sam Fine-Smith's class, The Light of Awareness. It's an IJS online course that I meet with a chavruta. My chavruta is on the other side of the country. I'm in California and she's in New York, but no matter because we get together every week and study Hasidic texts of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and guided by Sam's beautiful teaching and intuition around these texts. So I want to share something that I learned recently in one of our classes with him, our texts. So one of the texts that we studied pointed out, I was just talking this morning with my husband about this. In some ways it's easier for us to be alone because there's no one for us to disagree with, right? Life can be kind of simple when there aren't a lot of voices, a lot of people, a lot of opinions in the room. So Rabbi Nachman of Breslov points out that life was very good in the Garden of Eden when there was one human being there, but suddenly when there were two, disagreement began right in the book of Genesis about eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? So we have this kind of microcosm of this in the story of the Garden of Eden. Then there was Cain and Abel. Humanity began to multiply even more. Strife broke out between them. Cain rose up against Abel and killed him. Rabbi Nachman points out that the more people and the more multiplicity there is, the more complicated things become. But he also points out that in this multiplicity, we also have greater opportunity to discern our truth. So the more people, the more voices, the more we have an opportunity to clarify for ourselves and to kind of wade through all that stimuli to have our own sense of truth be revealed, our own path. Not only that, but Rabbi Nachman teaches that this is actually why we were created. We were created to exercise our free choice between truth and between everything else that's out there, right? So kind of wading through the sea of humanity and trying to clarify for ourselves who we are, how we emerge in that, through that, and what choices we make among the choices that we're able to make. So he points out that this multiplicity that he views as positive is why it's one of the first mitzvot, one of the first divine invitations in the Torah is to increase and multiply, right? And he teaches that this being fruitful and multiplying and filling the earth that we read about in the book of Genesis really refers not so much to the literal idea that some people have children, but that what's going to result is this multiplicity as we increase and introduce more human beings into the pictures of our lives. But it's easy as these other human beings and ideas and conflicts come into our life for us to have the illusion that we're separate from each other, right? Because the disagreement can create a chasm between us and between other people. So this is the challenge. So in the words of Rabbi Sam, and I'm going to quote here, this may trigger obsessive cycles of self-referential rumination. I love that, right? So what can happen is when we have these conflicts, we can start to go into this internal story. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov calls this cheshbonot rabim. Like cheshbon is a good thing. It's a reflection. It's an accounting for things. But if we over-engage in that, it can cause our minds to spin stories, to get defensive, and protect our separate self against the perceived other. And when this is acted out, it can get really bad with acrimony, division, and even violence. But he says we're endowed with this freedom to choose clarity over delusion. So, exactly how Mark started our sit today. How do we transcend this? Is by coming into the Shabbat mind. And Mark lifted this up with Friday morning gatherings, right? As we come together so close to Shabbat and allow ourselves to just be, to slow down, to pay attention, and to gather our fragmented selves into a greater sense of internal unity. So, one of the sages that Rabbi Nachman brings, one of his teachings, is the 16th century Kabbalist, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and he taught that we should experience the world like rays of sunlight passing through stained glass windows. Like, think of that image, how amazing that is. Right? There's not one refraction of the light, there's not one color, there's not one intensity. The light kind of delights in dancing through the various vessels of the stained glass, right? Different thicknesses, different sizes, different intensity of color, to create kind of this rich, colorful rainbow of creation. So it's a lovely image to think about how we might deal with when we get overwhelmed by the multiplicity and the disagreement and the conflict with other humans in our lives. So Sam introduced us to a poem I'd like to share with you, and thank you to Harry for sharing this on the screen. I'm going to read it out loud, but it's a lovely kavanah, a lovely intent for our sit today. This is written by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, and it's called Windows on the World. Imagine a house where every window shows a different world. This one reveals the root system of an ancient tree. This one, a mother rocking her infant back down to sleep. A young man balances a pallet of green coconuts on his head. A child offers boxes of chiclets to stopped cars. Here, a field where corn sprouts emerge chartreuse. A violinist busks in a tiled subway station, and strangers applaud. A man squeezes pomegranates by hand, selling their frothy juice. Gnarled olive trees overlook a pitted wall built by giants. The house is God's, and we are its windows. Wash away dirt, become transparent. Look, such beauty shines through you.
Recording in progress.
As we, sorry, just getting a little bit of an echo there. As we enter into this sit, I encourage everyone to take the words of this poem into your heart, and to allow yourself to become a window in this moment, to allow yourself to let the multiplicity refract through all these images of the stained glass windows, not to hold on tight to them or to push against them, but really to let them move through us. I'm going to read the last two stanzas of the poem before we settle in to about 12 minutes or so, maybe a little more quiet. The house is God's, and we are its windows. Wash away dirt, become transparent. Look, such beauty shines through you. And Harry, thanks for taking the source sheet down as we enter into silence together. In the last minute of our sit, as we prepare to let our eyes open, perhaps let the light back in from our internal space, turning to back out into the stained glass windows of the world. I want to share those last two stanzas of this beautiful poem. I'll just read them. You have the source sheet in the chat. It says Windows on the World by Rabbi Rachel um, Barenblatt. Last two stanzas. The house is God's and we are its windows. Wash away dirt, become transparent. Look, such beauty shines through you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Rabbi Susan Leider. What a great practice to bring us into Shabbat. And friends, let's seal the practice as we do by offering an opportunity for any of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to participate in the mourner's Kaddish, you're welcome to do so. If you're not reciting Kaddish, please stay present. To support those who are, you can put the name or names of anyone you're honoring today in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish, and hold them in your heart as we do so. And if you're reciting Kaddish, I want to invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit. And thanks to Harry for sharing the words on the screen. And if you're reciting Kaddish, you can also unmute if you like at this time. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yirama, Yidrach, Yute, V'yamlich Malchutei, Hayeshon, Yomochon, Hayeh B'kol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Ubizman Karev, Yimru, Amen. Hey Shmei Rabbah, Ach Leolam Lomei Amaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitzaman, V'yitnaseh, Yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudat B'richut. La'elam Mikol Birchata B'shirata, Tushbechata B'nechamata, Ba'amiran Ba'alma V'imru, Amen. Hey Shlama Rabbi Shemaya B'chaim Aleinu V'Yalko Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. V'aseh Shalom Yirma, V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yalko Yisrael, V'Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru, Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks to Rabbi Susan Leider for leading us beautifully, as always, and to Harry Gobal for holding our text space beautifully, as always. And we hope you'll stay on with us to share reflections on your experience with the practice today or the teaching. If you want to ask Rabbi Susan a question, put it in the chat. I'll try to work it into the conversation. And yeah, Susan, that was there's so many aspects of that that I felt were really very accessible and helpful. So I just want to, first of all, I haven't done this in a while. I want to reflect back the teaching a little bit, just to reiterate it, or iterate it, as my Bible teacher taught me. So it's very interesting. In our tradition, we have once again a spiritual paradox of the reality of multiplicity and diversity, which is revealed in part in just the multiplicity and diversity of humankind, right? Plus the natural world and all of that, etc. On the other hand, we have this idea that everything's one, it's all connected, right? But there's no separation, there's no difference. But when we're only in the world of difference and fragmentation, it leads to the kinds of issues that you were describing, right? I forgot how you said, Sam puts it, ruminate, what was it? Ruminating, self-referential rumination.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? That's a phrase that should roll off everybody's tongue.
Yeah.
When we start focusing on ourselves, and I guess in mindfulness, lingo, comparative mind, right? Comparing ourselves or judging ourselves, judging others, judging ourselves in relation to each other. And that leads us down that rabbit hole that you described, and that you said, I think Rabbi Nachman described as what was it?
Hashbonot Rabim,
Heshbon,
and
oops,
Sam's commentary is self-referential rumination is
self
how to be.
Yeah, but then you said you threw in, I think Rabbi Nachman described something similar as cheshbon,
Rabim,
right?
Hashbonot Rabim.
Cheshbonot, okay, so like constantly evaluating, right? So how do we get out of that? And I thought the image, both images that you offered, I think you said Rabbi Moshe Cordovero offers the stained glass image, right? Of
Mhm.
light passing through stained glass, which captures that paradox of being able to hold both and of diversity, like the way you described it, all the different colors, the different intensity of the colors, but a single light shining through. And then in a way I was thinking about, as I was imagining myself as a stained glass window, I was imagining the light passing through and the colors coming through the other side, but also, the colors kind of intermingling on the other side, they're bleeding into each other. And I was thinking of Cindy Lauper, I think it's Cindy Lauper, True Colors, let your true colors shine, right?
Yeah.
Right? Let your true colors shine through. Just let, if we had a soundtrack here, that would be great. And then the Rachel Barenblatt poem, which is fantastic, which is a slightly different image that says that to let the light shine, that we're the panes, that we're the windows in God's house, which is a brilliant metaphor. And but that we're smudged and um, kind of schmutzed up, right? And that the spiritual practice is to get the Windex out and get rid of the smudge and don't mean to add a commercial here, but what your glass cleaner of choice, and vinegar I think works too. Clear it out, and that's also a fantastic description of our practice. And so that's kind of a way to be able to hold both, right? And really, we need both of those metaphors because it's not just a matter of clearing our own glass, but also recognizing that there are multiple colors and also multiple colors shining through us. That there, to quote Walt Whitman, that we contain multitudes. That we have that diversity even within us. Anyway, all of which is to say, I'm just
Hmm.
Kol hakavod, beautiful teaching, and such an important and central way of describing that aspect of Jewish spirituality. Anything you want to
Yeah,
mention
well, the
or
other
add to that?
thing, but you brought it out for me even more, Mark. I was thinking with this is we can also take the imagery of the stained glass windows and Rachel's beautiful poem around that. There are also different times of day, figuratively, right? Like where the light is coming in different ways, different intensities. There's weather patterns out there, right, that are affecting how the intensity of the light. And I was reflecting on that in terms of over the life of a relationship, right? Like sometimes the light comes in differently.
Hmm.
Um, and how can we, depending what the other person's going through or whatever, how can we recognize that and not try to hold on to the image that was? Well, the light came in really brightly yesterday, right? Or the red was especially pronounced and I liked that, right? So if there's this sense of can we become detached from the expectation that the light is always going to be refracted the same way? Um, and you could even carry it further that the glass can also change too, right? It can get just like our bodies can, um,
Hmm.
damaged or broken or so I don't know. So there's also that temporal piece that came in for me in addition
That
to colors today during the meditation. It just unfolded in that way.
feels to me like that connects with Phyllis put a question in the chat. If we are the windows, who's in the house? Can we be in both places at the same time? And it kind of strikes me, in what you're describing, is yes, right? There's also that aspect that we dwell in the house and we're the windows at the same time. Also, when you first talked about that light shining through, I was thinking about a prism and the rainbow coming through. And Racheli, I'm glad you noted, June 1st on Monday starts Pride Month. And so the idea of like the rainbow shining through us is also beautiful. Um, Oh,
Mm.
right. Ellie's all saying, now that we're not in Shavuot and this next festival is far away, can we just be okay and just doing nothing? That's good. That's a good summer kavanah. Let's just kick back and um, so that, but to pick that up, um, that is part of that paradox also, and that's why I was saying, like, yeah, we're walking around the house and living our lives, and we're the windows. We're going about and doing and acting in the ego world of differentiation 6 days of the week. And then we have Shabbat where we let go of that differentiation and we really focus on cultivating that awareness of just sitting and letting the light go through us without doing anything, right?
Yeah. Let it be, right? Just,
Let it we're developing our playlist here. It's
yeah,
a beautiful,
exactly.
really,
Exactly.
really good. Anything people got other songs, throw them in here too.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Um,
great. A sing down in the chat. I love that.
Um, just going to scroll, see if this. Oh, the other thing I want to do a little shout out since you brought Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, who blogs under the name The Velveteen Rabbi. Just a quick looking ahead. She's going to Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt going to be writing next year's Torah text series. The all levels text series, and we're very much excited about that. Seeing Torah as poetry, and so here's the other thing, too, just to connect it also with um, the Parsha, is that essentially in Naso, in this Parsha, um, you have all these different, you have this kind of monotonous list of all the different tribes, the heads of all different tribes bringing gifts in the dedication of the Mishkan, and they're all the same gift, which is another example of unity and oneness and diversity at the same time. Thanks, Ruth. Ruth is DJing here for us. Really appreciate that. Um, and and Susan is right. It's true. After Shavuot, we're kind of in that. From Shavuot, we are like an extreme stance of receptivity, and that lasts through the whole month. Lu
Yeah.
Yihi. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we have a great song list going. There's something about, I'd love to go back to this idea of we're the windows and we're in the house also.
Hmm.
There is a teaching that I just heard someone share this past week, probably over Shavuot in the wee hours of the morning. But so it's not fully formed, but this idea that our bodies, there isn't this separation between kind of physiologically our bodies and the space in which we move. There's obviously our skin, right, containing our fluids and our organs and everything, but it was something about the high proportion of water in that make up these human bodies, right? And so I'm kind of thinking about this idea of we're the windows and we're also in the house, that there is this fluidity.
Mm.
There might appear to be a separation, but everything we percolate through the world, about the world, comes through these bodies, right? It comes through our senses. And so in some ways, we are the filter of the light and we are the house in how we move and process what we encounter in the world. So probably far more words there than what the teacher I learned from said it more eloquently, but there's something really there, really deep about being in the
Yeah.
house, in the windows.
And you added a whole different dimension there, because water does serve that function too of letting light pass through, but it adds that dimension of it's not something solid, it's something that's moving. And here's where I think poetry does come in, and I really love that you brought this wonderful poem by Rachel in, um, that we can just keep playing with different metaphors that point us to something that we experience as true, and we can't really wrap our heads around, right? And we can't express, we can't totally unpack it in prose. It's something that can be only pointed to through language that's used in a symbolic way. And there are different metaphors that symbolically represent different facets of the same truth. And like the water versus a window, but which have similarities but are not exactly the same. Or the house, the house that God, the house is God's house. Um, and where we have lots of material in Jewish tradition to support the idea that we are residents in God's house, and we're here more than residents. Really, we're the custodians, basically, right? We're the janitors, we're the gardeners. That's our role here in creation.
Mm.
So much good stuff there.
Yeah.
Um,
Ruth
how do
shared
we?
another question.
Yeah, what do you
If
say?
Sivan is also about revelation receiving and about we all hear in a different way, can't this change moment to moment and person to
Yep.
person? Yes. So the
Yes.
light shifts and our filter shifts. I would say yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm, nice. And Susan
I
shared another.
really appreciate the sharing in the chat. Thank you so
Yeah.
much to each of all of you for these beautiful reflections. All right, Susan, I think we're going to see you next week too.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, it's a new month.
it's a new
So
month, so yeah,
yeah.
so wonderful. I'm going to put in the chat. We have a great lineup of teachers for next week. We'll be here Monday through Friday. Delighted that on Monday, Rabbi Marcelo Bronstein will join us from Costa Rica. And Susan will be here on Tuesday, and Cantor Kev Spencer Shapiro Wednesday, Rabbi Damsky Thursday, and a week from today, Rabbi Dorothy Richmond will close us out and help us hit into Shabbat. So why don't we leave it there? And this is great, Susan. I'll see you in a little bit. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Great. Shabbat
I'll be
shalom
I'll
to
be I'll be here on
everybody.
Tuesday. Shabbat shalom to you. Shabbat shalom, each and every one of you. Thanks to Harry. And hope everyone gets an opportunity to sit and let the light shine through you and reflect and refract your true colors over Shabbat, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Be well.
shalom.